Super Bowl has gone too far, but big corporations still want to be in business with Russell Simmons. Why? Because he has his finger on the pulse of everything young people listen to, watch, and wear. And there is no better place to see the cool things he's selling them than his flagship store in New York City. It's called, what else? Phat Farm. Where does the name Phat Farm come from?
Fat, cool. Fat means like cool, like deaf is cool,
Right.
you know, like that. So,
And farm?
farm is a place where you make cool things, right? You grow them.
Cool clothes worn by more people than you would think. Who wears this stuff?
All kinds of people. Look, I mean, we have all kinds of stuff. I mean, these cashmere pieces.
Well, I mean, look at this. This is the says it right there, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, it says something. I don't say everything. Look at this. This says something too. This might be nice on you.
Yeah.
Says
I kind of like this. What about this?
This is the fastest selling suit
And this is
in Macy's.
Now, what's with the cap all the time in your fashion?
I don't know.
I never see you without a cap.
How you, how you do?
He's just sold Phat Farm for nearly $140 million, and the new owners still want him to run it. But that's only one part of his empire. He sells watches, books, not to mention a magazine. And his supermodel wife, Kimora Lee, is in charge of the women's division. All combined, the Simmons empire is generating nearly $500 million a year in sales. Sales driven by kids in the suburbs, not the inner city.
Like sweet morning dew.
And some of America's biggest companies have taken notice. Like never before, corporations see hip-hop as the ultimate sales tool.
Hey,
Coca-Cola had Simmons create this commercial.
You keep it real with me, I keep it real with you.
We caught up with Simmons on vacation on the exclusive Caribbean island of St. Bart's and asked him about his relationship with corporate America. When these guys from corporate America walk into a conference room and there is Russell, and he's got his hat on either straight or crooked, he's got his sweatsuit on, he's got some Phat Farm
Can you see the logo, by the way, this shirt? Can you see it? You can, right?
And he's in his favorite color, pink.
Pink is our spring color for Phat Farm.
So you go in there, what is it they think they're getting?
I think that they're getting, you know, two things. One, they're getting an entree into a world that they don't know enough about. So they want a gateway to selling their clothes, their phones, their movies, whatever it is, they want to sell it to America. This, to me, is fantastic.
And they see Simmons as the man who can make them look cool to young black and white kids around the country.
An initial purchase order of 20,000 phones.
Motorola, the global cell phone maker, is also in business with him. On this day, its executives went to his New York office to discuss a new line of phones. Simmons showed them his wife's pink phone. They suggested encrusting it in diamonds, and he insisted on a hip new ringtone.
Yeah.
So they trust me to make a safe judgment.
And what do you get out of it?
Well, I get paid.
It wasn't always that way.
And they said rap was crap, remember, Axis ran to the ruler came.
In fact, in the early days of hip-hop, Simmons had a lot of trouble getting mainstream record executives to invest in his Def Jam record label or any of his other ventures. They thought hip-hop was too edgy, nothing more than a fad. As it turns out, those executives missed the boat on a multi-billion-dollar industry. And Simmons, well, he became a very rich man. And as you're about to see, Simmons isn't afraid to rub it in. Are you better off because you didn't get a lot of money from white companies?
I'm always better off. The arrogance of white men is why I'm here today. If not for them, I wouldn't be here. What the hell do they need me for if they were open-minded enough to allow this cultural phenomenon to be part of their makeup? So my independence is because they didn't accept me. So every step of the way, I've made more money.
While white record executives ignored hip-hop, white teenagers couldn't get enough of it. And Russell Simmons was the man who introduced those kids to some of the biggest names in rap. Not only did he turn them on to the music, he sold young America the lifestyle. It's no wonder they call him the godfather of hip-hop.
Make some noise for Russell Simmons, y'all.
And no one has followed his blueprint for success more than this man, Sean Combs, the rap star and businessman who's also known as P. Diddy.
Yo, I'm back by popular demand. Say I want the crown but can't handle it.
Did you watch him build the empire and said, if Russell goes into clothes, he'll do Phat Farm, I'll do St. John?
Yeah.
If Russell goes into sneakers, I'll do sneakers. Where Russell's going, P. Diddy wants to be.
I've taken pride on following him. His wife is a model, my girlfriend's a model. I have a clothing line, he has a clothing line. He has a house in the Hamptons, I have a house in the Hamptons. We're like twins, but I'm younger. No, I've been stalking his life, basically.
Is that it? P. Diddy and other rappers learned a lot from Russell Simmons, but who did Simmons study under? Well, it might surprise you that his mentor's the Donald, as in Donald Trump. But Simmons has a very strange way of showing Trump respect. In a recent print interview, he complimented the Donald by referring to him as his, quote, nigga.
Well, I read it in the newspapers with an A at the end.
Yeah.
And I called him and said, that's the worst thing anybody's ever said. Why would you say a thing like that? He couldn't understand what I was saying. He said, that's the greatest thing I could ever say about anybody.
Despite the occasional misunderstanding, they've been friends for more than 10 years. Trump has taught Simmons a lot about business, maybe too much. Does this mean that he may very well end up richer than you?
I hope not. No, if Russell ended up more successful than me in 10 years, I would probably sue his ass off to get a piece of it.
Someday, Simmons hopes to be the first hip-hop billionaire. His family vacations already take place in the playgrounds of the rich and famous. That's his wife, Kimora Lee, and his two daughters, Ming Lee and Aoki Lee. Kimora is also his business partner, which makes domestic life a little complicated. We saw them tease each other about who is more creative.
I wouldn't say you were more creative than me.
Oh, you're more creative than me?
I just wouldn't say you were more creative at this moment.
Are you too competitive?
Me and Russell?
Yes.
Oh, my God, so much. We are fiercely competitive.
About what?
For example, we made cell phones. We're the first celebrities ever to have our own phone. My pink phone that I designed, that I sold to the girls, it was sold out before it hit the stores. It was reordered before it hit the stores, and it was limited edition. So I want people to know that while his phone is greatly successful, mine is even more successful. So in that sense, we're competitive.
What does this say to you?
That I'm a bad bitch. Respectfully so.
Attitude like that has always been a big part of hip-hop's appeal. But it also upsets a lot of people. Everything from this year's controversial halftime show at the Super Bowl to violent music like this song by rapper 50 Cent. We asked Simmons what he thought about these kinds of songs that are listened to by millions of young people every day. Is there a downside to rap in terms of the lyrics going too far?
Well,
if you're going to speak to all these other issues, you have to speak to that,
I want to speak to that issue. It's very important. 50 Cent, his mother was killed when he was 8. She was a drug dealer. 50 Cent been shot a lot of times, 9 times, 1 time, and he didn't die. His poetry is his reality. You may not like the truth that's coming out of some of the mouths of young people, but those are people that you wouldn't hear from at all.
So what is your position that you say, look, give them a blank check. Whatever they want to say is fine with us, and they may want to brutalize their women and worship a gun. They want to say that.
Worship a gun. George Bush works about what?
No, forget George Bush is not the issue there.
No, the issue. Why are we talking about that? Why aren't we talking about the gangster government we have? Why are we talking about gangster rappers? They're imitating the gangster government.
Oh, really?
You want to point at the rappers.
No, I don't. I just want to know what you think about them and whether you think everything is okay.
The conditions of suffering that exist today in our impoverished communities are not acceptable. The reflection of those conditions are less concern to me, and I work every day about changing the conditions.
To explain why he feels that way, Simmons and his rap star brother Run of Run DMC took us to Hollis, New York.
When I grew up, this was the #1 heroin block.
The black working-class neighborhood they grew up in and the source of some of Run DMC's lyrics.
I would say stuff like you're biting on your life, you're cheating on your wife, you're walking around town like a hooligan with a knife, hanging on the ab, chilling with the crew, and everybody know what you've been through.
In the late 70s, while the young entertainer was rapping, the young entrepreneur was selling drugs. It was a violent world, and it still is. There's a mural.
There's a mural of Jam Master Jay who passed.
Was he close to you?
Jam Master Jay was like my son. He represents a visible kind of an example of all the people who are being murdered here constantly right now.
Next to the mural of rap DJ Jam Master Jay, there's an ongoing memorial to all the young men who still get gunned down on the streets of Hollis.
You know, that's a lifestyle that we don't talk about. That's why we're so shocked when we hear these stories in these rap records. You know,
don't talk about it because?
That's a truth that we're not interested in. We're not interested in fighting that kind of ignorance.
That's my man, Russ.
What's going on, man?
You know me?
And that's why Simmons says he's interested in helping people in neighborhoods like Hollis. His latest business venture is a prepaid debit card for Americans who have bad credit and not enough money to open up a bank account.
This dramatically changed the lives of thousands of Americans.
Simmons, ever the salesman, couldn't resist interrupting our interview to try to sign up a few new customers.
This is called a rush card. If you call 866 rush card, you can get one.
Mr. Simmons is a very good salesman, too.
Well, I don't have to be a salesman. This sells itself.
That salesmanship has carried the hustler from Hollis to the exclusive suburb of Saddle River, New Jersey. His 30,000 square foot mansion is one of the largest homes on the eastern seaboard. It is a fortune built by hip hop, a style of music that grew up in the ghetto and conquered the heartland. A style of music that Simmons believes will forever change the face of America.
America, you know, they've always separated people because of race. They've been able to convince the niggas are coming. You know, the diversity that America has is so special. It's starting to really become a cool thing for young people. Not only because there's more mixes of people, but because people are more open-minded about each other. So I think in the future, America's got a great, great opportunity, and mostly because of hip-hop.
IP treatment that exceeds anything you've ever seen.
He's got the guy with the umbrella. There's just a level of ludicrousness about that that is inspiring.